Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon. It is great to be here with you, and today, for this NeuroTech course, I'm going to talk to you about fundraising in a NeuroTech startup. My name is Maiques. I'm the CEO and co-founder of NeuroTech, a super cool company developing the new generation of brain therapy using non-invasive brain stimulation. Today, in this course, I'm going to talk to you about fundraising. So why is fundraising important in a NeuroTech company? Why do you need money and when? We will also provide some insights on what are the best sources of capital for your company. And later, I will talk about my own experience in both running a NeuroTech company but also fundraising for NeuroTech. So bear with me, we are going to get started. It's going to be fun. Thank you. So, through the course, we are going to go after three topics. Topic 1, why is fundraising important and what are the best funding sources? Topic 2, how was the process of fundraising for NeuroTech and what is it to run a NeuroTech company? Topic 3, what are the lessons learned from all this experience of both running a NeuroTech company but also fundraising? So let's start by topic 1. What is fundraising? Well, the first thing you need to ask yourselves when you're going to fundraise is to think of your company as a child. So what stage of growth are you in your startup? Are you pre-seed, seed funding, Series A or Series B? Because depending on your stage and your capital needs, you're going to approach different investors. So let's start with pre-seed. Pre-seed is really an idea on a paper. It's you and some colleagues or co-workers thinking about a theoretical business model, super passionate, but yet no product, no resources, just an idea. Seed funding is where you already have a product developed, you have something that you can show, and on top of the founders, you may have 1 or 2 engineers that also join the team. Series A. This is where you start to get serious. Why? Because you already have a customer, which means that the market has validated that you have a valid solution and you have some product market fit. So for that, you will also have engineering team and some sales team. So it's really starting to get from an idea to the market. That's where usually, investors like venture capital may start to come. And then Series B is all about scale up. You already have a proven product that it's tested in the market, paying customers, some revenue, and it's about scaling up, making that idea big and growing your company. So again, this is more a game for venture capitalists or debt or other sources of funding. Usually pre-seed and seed funder are more family and friends, and we'll see that on the next slide. So again, before you start to raise money, just think where your company is. There are different kinds of funding sources, and the good news is that there is a lot of money out there for your company. So it can be your own money, which I think is the best way to start. So if you are now working or you're studying, I suggest you try to save some money, because putting your own money as a startup is really important. It gives credibility to the investors that you're really committed. It helps you not to dilute or sell your company before it's too late or it's too early, And again, I think it's really a sign of commitment. So if you have some money, try to save it. The other sources of capital, for example, friends, family, and fools, happen when you haven't saved money, you don't have money on your own, but you have a network of friends or family members that are going to support your idea. And these are usually friendly investors that are investing because they believe in your project, but they are not going to ask you for a return tomorrow. One excellent source of capital is also grants, non-dilutive funding, meaning, going to the government and asking for money to develop your idea. Or angel investors, which is like friends, family, and fools, but a little bit more sophisticated. Also asking for more information in return. And then venture capital and banks. Those usually come later in Series A or B. So, the 4 first bullets are more for seed, pre-seed, and then the others are, more for Series A or Series B. So a takeaway from topic 1 is when you are fundraising and before you do so start to ask yourself some questions. What stage is your company at? What do you really need the money for? What is that money going to take you? to the next level, right? To the next value inflection point. And raising capital is just dating. It's like getting married. So you really have to find the best partner. And the good news is that there is a lot of funding available. You just have to find the right match. Topic 2. So I'm going to share now with you what is fundraising and what has been my experience in running a NeuroTech company and why we needed capital and when we raised that capital. So Neuroelectrics is trying to lead a brain therapy revolution. And why? So one of the things I often tell entrepreneurs is, why do you start a company? And you have to do that for the right reasons, right? So for us, the reason to wake up every morning and go to work and work so hard is because we believe that 1 out of 5 people in the world are suffering from a brain disease or brain disorder, and yet they don't have a cure. So we are on a mission to help all these millions of patients as innovators to provide them a solution. I think this is really important because if you are creating a startup for the money, for fame, for to be cool, I don't think those are the right reasons, and they will not help you to get through the many hurdles you have to create a successful startup. So think twice before you start a company on what is your motivation to start a company. So at our company, we believe that we can tap into our electric brain. As most of you know, our brain is also communicating electronically, right, with electric pulses. And we have been obsessed at Neuroelectrics to decode those pulses and also to modulate or really be able to interfere with them. So what we have developed is this technology that I'm going to wear right now, which is a wireless cap. You see it's really comfortable and easy to use. It's non-invasive. And any of the 32 electrodes I'm wearing here can do 2 things. It can record your brain activity, also called as EEG or electroencephalogram, but any of the 32 electrodes can also inject currents into the brain. So you have the potential to do non-invasively a read and write technology that can also be taken home to really provide healing and therapy to many brain diseases. It is not only the cap that you're seeing right now, it's also a very sophisticated technology. So if you're creating your NeuroTech company, think about the future, right? The future is not only about the device, not only about being able to use it at home with telemedicine, which of course the pandemic has accelerated, but it's also about how do you personalize per patient, per brain, this intervention. This requires a combination of maths, physics and biology. It's really a cool interaction of different disciplines of science. So as I have described, how can this technology help patients? As you can see in this video, it's really amazing how a doctor can take an MRI or an EEG of a patient, for example, in the case of epilepsy, showing where the seizure focus is, and then the doctor paints in our software what area of the brain they want to stimulate, either excite or inhibit. And we build a 3D model of that patient brain based on the MRI, and then compute how many electrodes and how much current we have to inject into the brain to achieve the desired effect, right? So in the case of epilepsy, we will want to put electrodes in a position to reduce activity and then reduce seizures. And then that information, that protocol is downloaded into the device that can be used in the home. So this is how the technology works, and as I have said, if you're creating a NeuroTech company, it's much more about hardware only. You have to think what is your value added, what you're going to bring into the field that is really making a difference. So, as you have seen with Neuroelectrics, from having an idea or a device in mind to the market is a really long road. You have to do a prototype, you need to sell it, you need to manufacture it, you need to assemble it, test it, and scale it. The problem is that if you're running a medtech company, the issue is also that there are many obstacles that other industries like the software industry or consumer industry don't have. You have to go through a regulatory process, usually, for example, in the US, run by the FDA. But also you have to think about reimbursement. Even if the FDA approves you as a new therapy, who is going to pay for it? And even if they pay for it, are you going to have the right market access strategy? Are you going to sell it in the right way so it really impacts millions of patients? So again, from idea to the market, and especially in medtech, there are huge mountains to climb and huge challenges to go after. So, it's not an easy industry, but you're an entrepreneur, right? So we'll have to go through them. Now let me tell you how NeuroTech define its fundraising strategy and what did we do as a company. So one interesting thing is when we developed the device that you have seen, we knew we wanted to be a therapy, we wanted to be in the clinics, but we also thought that maybe instead of raising capital, there was a product we could sell to researchers worldwide, so to another market, the research market. So we got our devices out there into the public, and we got amazing traction from researchers in China, Japan, Korea, Europe, the United States, and to the point that last year we made $5 million revenues selling to researchers worldwide in more than 45 countries. So this is an example of what we call a bootstrapping strategy, right? In which your clients become your first customers, right? And your first funders. So, as you will see in the next slide, our first strategy was bootstrapping and grants. And that was to build the science and the evidence. Then to build efficacy, to go on clinical trials, to go through the regulatory process, we raised our Series A. And then, of course, to scale up, we will need to raise our Series B. So as I have said, bootstrapping, if you can, it's a great strategy, because if you combine bootstrapping with grants, what you're getting is your clients as your investors, and they don't only give you money, they also give you the feedback on the product, and they tell you, why don't you improve the product, put more electrodes, improve the software. So you're really validating the technology, you're getting a customer base, and you're funding your company. So I know it's not easy for every company out there, but I think that there may be products in intermediate markets that can really help you bootstrap. Needless to say, those clients were some of the best universities in the world, right? From MIT to Harvard to Boston Children's to Johns Hopkins to Sloan to, Veterans Administration, even Facebook, Warner Bros. They were using our technology. And with some of those partners, we created grants to develop the technology further, grants to advance the product. And that was also a great strategy to build the company. We raised more than 15 to 20 million dollars in grants in the last 10 years, which is significant in terms of really being able to create a critical mass and a critical technology. So when we were selling to researchers worldwide, we rapidly saw that the US and especially Boston was getting a lot of traction on the market. And that was our first motivation to open in 2014, 3 years after we incorporated the company, our first office in the United States. One of the things we learned by launching, from Barcelona, Europe to Boston, US, was that incubators are really important. We were selected as part of Mass Challenge, the health tech incubator, and I think it gave us a lot of traction in the US. First, networking. So Mass Challenge was connected to the ecosystem. We were in a new ecosystem. Mentoring, we got amazing mentors from Mass Challenge, and also in-kind support. As an example, Microsoft gave us $300,000 of credit in their Azure platform, so we migrated our telemedicine solution to their platform. So these are examples of how joining an incubator can really help scale up your company. Once we landed in Boston, we realized by working with our researchers at Boston Children's that epilepsy was the first indication we wanted to push to the clinic. And another example of how to grow your company, we reached out to the government of Massachusetts, Mass Life Sciences, and they gave us a $1 million grant to start to do the first 20 patients at Boston Children's. So we demonstrated with some pilot data that our technology could reduce seizures, and then we engaged with the FDA to design our large pivotal trial that will take us to approval. This is the data we got from the 21st patients at Boston Children's funded by the government of Massachusetts, in which you can see that only after 10 days of 20 minutes of stimulation every day, we were able to reduce seizures 44%. So I repeat, non-invasively, for these kids that are refractory to medication, they still have seizures and the alternative is surgery, we were able to reduce seizures 44%. So now we are moving into pivotal phase. It's going to be 190 patients in 25 hospitals, but we have lots of other indications, depression, Alzheimer's, ADHD, and they need to be pushed to the clinical path. Convince the FDA that this is a good therapy requires clinical evidence and that you cannot bootstrap anymore. So, an epilepsy study like the one we are doing may cost you $9 million. And it's much less than a drug, but it's still too much to bootstrap. So at that point, when we wanted to fund these clinical trials, we understood as founders that we couldn't bootstrap anymore. And we had to do our first fundraising out there. So we put together a deck, put together our story, and get out there into Boston to raise our Series A round. So the good news, in 2021, we were able to secure our Series A for $17.5 million from US investors. So at that point, we had already bootstrapped the company to 5 million revenues in 45 countries. We had one clinical program going on epilepsy, a lot of IP, core technology, a lot of paying customers, and a clear clinical path. So this is an example of how NeuroElectrics got very far with little investment at the beginning and helped to secure a Series A in 2021 that is really now going to help us to really get to the clinic. So what are the takeaways of this topic 2? Well, running a neurotech company is really difficult because it's not only about helping patients, but about the regulatory, the reimbursement, and the market access, and all the challenges that really need intensive capital. And to go from the idea to the market is a long road. But if you have a good product, bootstrapping and grants can help you get very far, and then have enough data to really convince serious investors to invest in you. So again, just look at alternative strategies and really make sure you implement your business plan. So now let's move to topic 3. So what are some of the lessons learned from fundraising at NeuroElectrics? So there are a number of things that I have learned myself as a CEO and entrepreneur who went to raise its Series A. The first thing is when I came to Boston, I thought that money would fall from trees. I was reading all these press releases, I was raising money, so I thought it was going to be super easy and the money was waiting for me. The honest truth is that, for example, Boston, as many as other ecosystems in the world, are packed with talented, super smart people. And lots of them coming out of MIT, of Harvard, are the best universities in the world, are doing the same thing as you as an entrepreneur, raising capital for their new neurotech startups. So competition is fierce and money is hard to get. But even if money is hard to get and there is a lot of competition, meritocracy exists. I have described how we got a grant from the government of Massachusetts, how we got accepted in Mass Challenge, one of the best incubators in Boston, how we got a number of awards from Wire, from Entrepreneur Magazine, from the Henry Termeer Great Entrepreneur in Boston network. So, even if it's hard, you have to put yourself out there, you have to compete, and you really have to make sure you're visible. Raising money is really difficult. So one of the advices I could give you is that start early. It took us almost 3 years to raise this 17.5 million and more than 100 meetings with all kinds of investors. It's really a sales process, so you have to pitch, and refine your pitch. And also manage your funnel of investors in a really scientific way. Another lesson I learned is that you really have to investigate the investors. So investors and entrepreneurs is like a dating process. So investors have an investment policy, which means in what areas they invest, on what stage of company. It's not the same that your early stage than Series B, right? What is the stage of their fund? Are they at the beginning of really deploying that capital or at the end? So you really have to investigate them. What are the companies they are investing at? What are the latest investment? Who is in the board, right? Who are the investors? So don't take it personally when they say no. When they say no, it doesn't mean you don't have a cool company or a great project. It just means it doesn't fit their fund, their investment thesis. So also, even if they say yes, you still have to think, are these investors the best match for my company? Are they aligned? So that's why I think it's just like dating. It's like a match process, and you have to make sure they are the right investors for your company. Another thing I learned is that you have to tell good stories. And remember, they will always invest in you. So investors receive hundreds of decks every week. You have to tell a powerful story. Prepare your pitch. So show them how you're the best person to take that vision to reality. And at the end, remember, they will invest in you. So really show them you're the best one to execute that vision. Networking is key. So you have to put yourself out there, but you have to talk to a lot of people to understand who are the best investors, meet other entrepreneurs, and just go to conferences, to events non-stop. I think networking is one of the most powerful tools you have to really raise capital. Another lesson learned, if you're putting yourself out there, if you're raising capital, think big. All companies, even Amazon and Apple and all the companies you see out there, Google, they started small, but they always had a think big, mentality. So think big. Show investors you're really willing to make a difference in the world. And last one, it's a marathon. You have to persevere. The odds are against you. I have to tell you, I'm a woman CEO. Only 2% of all venture capital goes to woman-led organizations. So there is not a lot of diversity in the investment community. But still, you have to make the difference. You have to persevere. Even if 100 doors get closed, others will open. So just persevere. So the takeaway of topic 3, some of the lessons learned is that you really have to prepare well. It's really big competition. There are a lot of opportunities, but you have to prepare well. Give yourself some time, have a good pitch, a great team, and investigate the investors. Do not underestimate the power of networking, and think big and persevere. Nobody said it was easy, but that's why you're an entrepreneur, and that's why you're going to make the difference. So keep on trying.